Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is another recording on today's date, which is March 30th, 2024. I'm with Michael in Germany, and I'm here in Minnesota in the United States, and we are here to bring you another session that Michael has labored a long time to put together this script. And I think today, Michael, I am all ears because, it always is surprising the topics that you choose. So I'm really ready and waiting to jump in with you into this messy topic of the world as we know it today. Welcome, Michael.
Welcome, Brad. Hello, dear listeners. Yeah, we see that on the other hand, I'm quite surprised that so few people are going into these subjects. But you see that everybody in the spirit and in the body of Christ actually has his own purpose, I guess. So, science is the new religion. So this is the new session, which is a little bit of a summary of the old sessions about this Mary worship in Latin America. But let me tell you, there's something else coming up because we have to combine the dots before we go into the next subject. How's that? So this is the so-called globe model with the majority of South America. I apologize because it has been taken out of this Google Earth. So it is in English. It is not Brazil, but Brazilian. It is Peru. It is Bolivian and not Bolivia. It's Argentinian and not Argentina. But I think that you get the picture. So you see that Peru is here on the left side on the west coast, so to speak. Ecuador is quite on top of it. So that's Chile here and Argentina on the south, and that's out of any question here. That's then below would be the Antarctica, and this is then the dragon, or let's put it in other terms, the feathered serpent. So let's assume that dragon is just another word, another phrase for a winged or a feathered serpent. I think we are much better off to just use that word instead of a dragon, because with a dragon we associate a mythologically being. I know that the Bible is just using that word, but I think that it's just more easy to depict it as it is here in the sea here as a feathered serpent, because these native tribes in Latin America are just using it as a feathered serpent. Feather because it would be the combination of some creature who is just able to fly unto heaven. So a messenger of the gods in one way or the other, from top to bottom and bottom to top. So this is then also Quetzalcoatl. It is written in Greek, so the origin of dragon must be Greek here. Drakon. Fabulous. You see, even the Bible says a fabulous kind of serpent, perhaps as supposed to fascinate a dragon. So, a flying serpent or a feathered serpent, please just excuse me that I have a hard time going to dragons, because we have to combine it with the ancestors of the inhabitants of Latin America. Reports of giant white-winged birds swooping over the seas bearing fair-skinned men reached Moctezuma, the reigning king of the Aztecs. Surely this was the anticipated return of their beloved prince-plumed serpent, as it has been prophesied. So that means that, I know that is a repetition here, that actually means that watch out, because there's a serpent to try to regain power in these old native tribes. The great bird serpent, or feathered serpent, priest king, Quetzalcoatl is the most powerful figure in all the mythology of Mexico and Central America. And then he's got other names, Kulma and what else in South America. Yeah, but the plumed serpent is the only symbol with so much staying power that it can be found permeatingly nearly every formative culture of Mexico. And this is not only Mexico.
Yes, Michael, that's permeating, yes.
Thank you. So, once again, the plumed serpent is the only symbol with so much staying power that it can be found permeating nearly every formative culture of Mexico. And he's got other explanations and other words.
Mythology.
Mythology. Amaruca. Yeah, so Amaruca. Land of the free. I just wanted to be 100% sure that I do not mix up any names. So America comes from Amaruca, most likely, from the land of the plumed feathered serpent given by the native people of Peru, West Coast. But the name Paraguay, the country in Latin America where the Jesuits founded the first communism there, stems from Guarani Paragua, which means the feather crown. Or Paraguay means the feather crown of the water. So you got another explanation, another at least hint that it has something to do with feathers and crowns. Interesting, huh? Feather crowned serpent maybe. From Old English feather. A feather means a pen, but in plural, it also can mean wings. So feather can mean wings. So then you got the winged crown of the waters. And you see that slowly, you see that it's all in the same waters. Literally, it's all very similar, Brett.
Mm-hmm. Right.
1818, Chile declares itself independent. 1819, Colombia, that's in the north of Latin America, declares itself independent from Spain with the Freemason Simon Bolivar, and therefore this 1825 Bolivia declares itself independent from Spain. Bolivia most likely derives its name out of Simon Bolivar, and he was a Freemason. So don't come up with the explanation that, they got democracy, they're independent. They're independent from Spain, but they're dependent on Freemasonry. And who's ruling the Freemasonry? So you know that these people, they do not only speak Roman languages there, so they do not speak their native languages in Latin America anymore. At least these are not the official languages. The official language in Brazil, as far as I know, is Portuguese. And not 500 native tribes. And if you look about this capital city of Ecuador once again, they have also a statue of a certain Simon Bolivar, which is that famous Freemason here. And that means, this statue here, that he is then surrounded with angels with wings. I wonder where the serpent is actually here, but you see that angels with wings. My, I thought, what a great guy that must be. Yeah, so Simon Bolivar has something to do with Colombia, something to do with Bolivia, and has been worshipped, or at least a statue there, in Ecuador. Simon Bolivar was a military leader and Freemason who lived the motto of liberty, equality, fraternity. And I have somewhere read, Brett, that is not the entire motto, because it just goes on with or death. So liberty, equality, fraternity, or death. As
they took out the or death part, huh?
I can't prove it, but it's just an interesting hypothesis. But that would also be a pagan trinity then here.
Sure.
As president of Spanish-speaking South America, Simon Bolivar. Brother, of course, Freemason, is one of the most influential known Freemasons in the history of the world, born to be an educated family in Venezuela. Where does Arturo Sosa comes from? In 1783, Simon was sent to Europe to be educated in the midst of the Napoleonic Wars. It is there that he encountered the Enlightenment and its prime engine, the Freemasonry. Oh my, oh my, oh my, oh my. He was initiated into Lautaro Lodge in Cadiz, Spain. If it was there, he would meet many of the Masonic brothers who would join him in liberating Latin America from Spanish tyranny. Oh, this is just comedy here, huh? This is really comedy. Do your own research. Look for all these similarities. I have mentioned that in the last part on the west coast of Chile. You see the Dragon Hill. Yeah, so they are just worshipping the dragon, or in other terms, the winged serpent or the feathered plumed serpent. Yeah, you can name him as you would like. Yeah, the feathered serpent or the sea serpent or the giant serpent, it's always a serpent. Yeah, if it is called Quetzalcoatl, if it is called Kukul, whatsoever it is called Anahuac, these are just dialects. These are just several languages which are all have something in common. They are just worshipping the serpent, or let's say in other terms, they are just worshipping Satan. The ancient Americans and the serpent dragon of all religions. Mm-hmm. So no wonder that the Virgin of Quito has got a serpent under her feet. No wonder. And with interesting colors here on that picture. So the first problem that I encountered was the many deceptions all around the earth.
Yeah, purple and scarlet, Michael.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are other colors too, but that was the most fitting picture here on that regard, of course.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. You see, the verse 3 is very interesting. Would you care to read this?
Yes. Revelation 17:3. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns.
Yeah, the 10 horns of Revelation 17. That is the mother of harlots, actually, huh? And she's not sitting here, but she's just standing upon a beast or a serpent. And also you can see some horns here, but that's not the only point. Look at the statue just once again. You know that is just a reference to Revelation 12, of course. But in Revelation 12 it's not mentioned, as we have literally talked about it, extensively talked about it, that she is not taming a dragon or a winged serpent or what else this is here with the horn. But you see, the universal language means symbols, ciphers, and allegories. So she's quoted with the sun, and so is Revelation 12. But look, that this serpent is just sitting on top of the United States, so to speak, yeah, because this is already Mexico here, so he's sitting on the United States, what I found quite interesting. Question to Brett is quite obvious. Which ocean has been displayed here?
I think it's the Pacific.
Yeah, Pacific means peace, and also it is the ring of fire.
Mm-hmm.
Huh? Yeah, so very interesting, I think. Even their native chiefs, they had the name of Amaru, which is then somebody who was just ruling the Amaru tribe. And Amaruca is just the land, and Amaru is the feathered serpent. His name derived from the Quechua words Tupac, meaning, Tupac, interesting, huh? You know that is a certain rapper. Tupac meaning royal or shining, or Amaru, which can either mean snake or refer to the snake-like being from Andean mythology. If you go to Chile, you will discover that Chile is also not an independent country, although they tell you otherwise. In Chile, this is the country with the Dragon Hill, and this is also the country where there was a military takeover on September 11 in 1973 with Salvador Allende, who served as a president of Chile until his death in 1973, officially. And then the CIA took over and installed a dictator, General Augusto Pinochet. Chile's murderous dictator greets Henry Kissinger, his enabler. Yeah, and Kissinger received the Nobel Prize. Yeah, sure, that's the world we are living in. So, a general ruling in Chile. Where else a general is being ruling? I think it was the Jesuits. Yeah, so you got another 9/11 in America, this time in South America, 28 years before. In 2010, in Chile, there was an earthquake, and there was a Masonic media ritual where 33 workers are trapped in a mine, and the Chilean president visits Queen Elizabeth with a rock from the mine. Movie The 33, released by Phoenix Pictures. Yeah, that would really make a mess out of it, huh? 33 workers. In Chile. So you know that, or you can assume at least, that Freemasonry is very prominent in Latin America, South America as well. So, speaking of Easter, because now at the date of the recording we are just have done a 5-minute one on Easter, which is a pagan festival, there also are Easter Islands, which are an island and a special territory of Chile in the southeastern Pacific Ocean. This island is most famous for its nearly 1,000 extant monumental statues called Y, which were created by the early Rapa Nui people. In 1995, UNESCO named Easter Island a World Heritage Site, so it must have something to do with the pagan belief, with much of the island protected within this national park. And so they are just depicting giant heads. And it's up to you, I think, what this could resemble. But I think we have touched this subject a few months before. You know, it is not astonishing that on several parts of the world, several continents, people are worshipping quite the same under other names, because once we were just one continent. As the island became overpopulated and resources diminished, warriors known as Matatoa gained more power and the ancestor cult ended, making way for the Birdman cult. Beverly Horn wrote, quote-unquote, the concept of mana power invested in
hereditary, yes.
In hereditary leaders was recast into the person of the Birdman, apparently beginning circa 1540 and coinciding with the final vestiges of the Moai period. I said 1540. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
The Birdman. So bird means feathers or wings. Competitions for birdmen started around 1760 after the arrival of the first Europeans and ended in 1878 with the construction of the first church by Roman Catholic missionaries, bing, 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 bell, who formally arrived in 1864. There is
in other words, Roman Catholic Jesuits.
Yeah, you want it, you got it.
Yeah.
Eugene Iro, I do not know how to pronounce it correctly, was a lay friar of the Congregation of the Sacred Hearts of Jesus and Mary. And then, Mary worship and you know what's all about. And the first Westerner to live on the Easter Island. Although fiercely opposed at first, Iro eventually came to be highly popular and influential among the islanders. In October 1866, Gaspar and Theodore joined Hérault and Roussel in their mission and set up schools there on Easter Island. On 22nd of December, this is winter solstice, by the way, Hérault wrote, the chances of triumph show themselves day by day to be ever more certain, and the hour of providence seems to have arrived for the inhabitants of Easter Islands. The mission was established the moment the work of destruction touched its final limits, destruction in the material order, destruction in the moral order. He assisted that year in what would be the last ceremony of the Birdman cult. And then they had another pagan religion called the Roman Catholic religion. Now, it's very interesting, and that must be only a coincidence. Tuberculosis came to the island in 1867, which led to the death of a quarter of the island's population, and Hérault died of it on the 23rd August, 9 days after the last islanders had been baptized. What an interesting story, huh? And it's just up to you what you make out of it. Once again, Chile, huh? Dragon Hills. There are also some interesting Nazca lines. Ever seen this? I guess that the majority of people ever saw this.
Mm-hmm.
In 1968, Kubrick's movie, 1 year before the official movie of the moon landing, or the so-called moon landing mission, Mission Control, Space Oddity about the star chart was appearing, and Erich von Däniken published bestseller Chariots of the Gods with 70 million copies. If that is correct, it's just hard to...
Oh, yeah. So 1968 was 33 years before 2001, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
So, Erich von Däniken is another Jesuit. He focused on Piri Reis map, mysterious card ruts in Malta, tales of Sodom and Gomorrah destroyed with nuclear devices. The interpretation of the Ark of the Covenant as an alien communication device and Wheel of Ezekiel as spacecraft and Nazca lines as landing stripes. So that means that at least some of it, he just wants to mock the Bible, of course. That's also the reason why he sold 70 million copies, because he has to be on the broad way. Otherwise, he won't make it and be a millionaire with 70 million copies. Come on. So that he's there to promote aliens. He's there to promote any alternative explanation of biblical events. Let's put it this way. Yeah? Erich von Däniken is a Swiss disinfo agent historian used in the media industry to spread disinfo about extraterrestrials and be a part of the opposition of the science church. And this Chariot of the Gods that has been written by a certain Utz Utermann, and Wilhelm, nickname Utz Utermann, was a German writer, so that he means that he's a ghostwriter even, most likely to Erich von Däniken. So somebody who puts out his profile, and there are people in the background who are just at least co-writing or just maybe just giving the inspiration for all that. This Wilhelm Utermann, was not only a German writer and film producer, but he has just another alias name as Wilhelm Roggersdorf. He edited Erich von Däniken's Chariot of the Gods and extensively rewrote the book. My. So that Erich von Däniken and other people in the background, they are just here on the agenda to spread disinfo about ancient alien landing sites and all this stuff. 70 million copies. My. It's just unbelievable, huh? Extraterrestrials, you right? Yeah. So they even will explain you maybe that the halo is just an art of a kind of a helmet of the astronauts. It's just never ending, right? It is never ending.
Man.
It is never ending. Yeah, you see that these Nacha lines, they are just mostly resembling of animals. Yeah, so you can see that is a site of worship most likely, but to interpret it as a landing site for alien aircrafts, really, this is just. But there are people out there who will believe almost everything, at least if they don't have to read the Bible. Ancient Aliens, the propaganda show, of course, and disinfo about Atlantis and extraterrestrials, although some websites believe in Atlantis, I don't. Yeah, because if you believe in a continuous landmass, there is no time and there's no space for Atlantis, actually, but that is just what you believe. Yeah, so there are even then history channels and all the stuff of ancient aliens to come up with any disinformation. The sun and the moon on paintings of the crucifixion of Jesus Christ as male, female pillar is interpreted as UFOs. Yes, you can also come up with crystal skulls. Yeah, you see so much forgeries. Yeah, so much. Ezekiel's wheels in the Bible interpreted as a spaceship. You see that they just want to mock the Bible. Yeah, but they see the serpent and the dragon as the transmitter of knowledge. Of course, you see, Brett, when they depict a feathered, plumed serpent, then he comes from the gods. He comes from the sky, so therefore he brings knowledge. It's the same old concept.
Right.
So, Peru, Amaruca, the tribe of Amaru. There you see, Peru, Ecuador, Colombia. Simon Bolivar, Ecuador, Simon Bolivar statue, Bolivian, Simon Bolivar, Chile, Simon Bolivar, Mason. The entire West Coast, it seems, huh? Just masonry. Peru, Spanish crown. These were the former regions of Peru. Tierra firme, which means the firm land. Nueva Castilla, Newcastle, I think it is. Nueva Toledo, I have to look it up, I do not know. New Andalusian, and this is the New Lion. Interesting, huh? That in the south part, it is the New Lion. And this is Terra Australis. This is the, Australis means the south, so this is the land of the south, which is now the land of fire, Tierra de la Fuego. What does Toledo means? A city in Spain. Yeah, that's what I see. Yes, it's city of Spain. The name is Celtic from tol means hill. So. Nueva Toledo, city of Spain. And this is Terraco de Tordesalas. And I'm just too lame now to look it up, really. Yeah, this is Quito, this is the Ecuador, this is where the Virgin Mary statue is. Yeah, Asunción, Ascension. La Paz means the peace. Buenos Aires, the good air, and also the Lady of the Good Air, I think it was. Montevideo is Monte is the hill, and video means to see. There's so much. The entire continent is just messed up with Roman Catholicism. Which led me to an interesting thought. You see, when officially the United States and Canada has been flooded with immigrants from Europe fleeing the Inquisition, Brett,
Yep.
then I think that is quite logical that the Roman Catholic came up with the idea to locate their missionaries and therefore to convert the southern part of America, of the continent America, so that you also got a diversion between North America as a part of a continent and South America as a part of the continent. And so that means that you got all these Catholic missionaries in Central or South America, and you got the Protestants in North America, means Canada and United States. And so therefore, while the United States is busy with their own North against the South war, the Civil War, they can, and they have all their time to just convert all these native tribes in Latin America or South America to Roman Catholicism. Until then, with the help of, for example, Mexicans, they take over the United States. And then the entire continent, America, North and South, would be Roman Catholic. That's my idea. I think you would agree on this.
Well, certainly you have a different form of Catholicism here in the United States as you do in South America.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a type of synthesis going on here. You have the doctrines of the American Catholicism versus everything else, I guess. Because I think the South American, I don't know much about South American Catholicism, actually, other than, it's being used right now politically. Yeah, it's a political tool.
Mm-hmm.
So does that fit, Michael?
Yeah, I think it's just quite clear to me that they could hide extremely well in South America because South America was, for example, here in Paraguay, that was the first try to spread communism into the world. So I think that is just a guinea pig. Yeah, so that entire South America is a guinea pig for Rome, actually. So to come back to the Nacha lines of Chile, I think that that was an most likely an ancient site of worship. I have not looked it up deeply, but I think that's just most likely. I do not think that is just an alien encounter. I just stick to the Bible, and when you see that they are just been worshipping the plumed serpent and all the stuff, so animals in Latin America, this must not necessarily be an astronaut here with the helmet, but can also mean somebody else, because Naut, we have Naut also, not only an astronaut and cosmonaut, but in nautics. So it could also mean somebody who is just diving, a diver or what else. Yeah, I would not.
Oh, sure. Yes, I understand.
I would not stick to their explanation then.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, this is for you.
Lions forming the shape of a cat were discovered on a hill in 2020. Yeah.
Yeah. So nobody knows. Either it is an ancient site or they have just made it. So I do not know. I wasn't there, and I don't want to investigate on this because it has not such a big interest, I think. Yeah, so of course they could also point to the night sky with fixed stars. That's also possible. Yeah, but I have not looked it up actually. I'm sorry, I cannot spend so much time on anything. Yeah, of course, anybody is fascinated with anything they can see and grasp and smell and feel. So, Däniken means that his theory was that these mysterious lines were used as landing sites for UFO. For Däniken, it's really interesting. He said, "Were our ancestors visitors from space?" While in Egypt, he was involved in a jewelry deal, which resulted in a 9-month conviction for fraud and embezzlement upon his return to Switzerland. So I do not know if that is correct, but I would not trust him because I know that he was in the St. Michael International Catholic School in Freiburg, Switzerland. During his time at the school, he rejected the church's interpretation of the Bible and developed an interest in astronomy and flying saucers. I think that says it all.
Yeah. Oh.
At the age of 19, he was given a 4-month suspended sentence for theft. He left the school and was apprenticed to a Swiss hotelier for a time before moving to Egypt. Then he wrote, "Where our ancestors visited from space." While in Egypt, he was involved in a jewelry deal which resulted in a 9-month conviction for fraud and embezzlement upon his return to Switzerland.
Wow.
So much.
What a character, huh?
Yeah. In November 68... 33 years before 2001, von Däniken was arrested for fraud after falsifying hotel records and credit references in order to take out loans for 113. So I do not know if that is very strange. Over a period of 12 years, he used the money for foreign travels to research his book. 2 years later, he was convicted for repeated and sustained embezzlement, fraud, and forgery, with the court ruling that the writer has been living a playboy lifestyle. He unsuccessfully entered a plea of nullity on the intentions, on the grounds that his intentions were not malicious and that the credit institutions were at fault at failing inadequately to research his references. On the 13th February 1970, he was sentenced to 3.5 years imprisonment and was also fined 3,000 francs. He served 1 year of the sentence before being released. I think that's it. So much so for Chariots of the God. Strange character, huh?
Oh, yeah.
So, same with this corn, crop circles. We have talked about this already. Oh, there's also a nice horse here in the United Kingdom. Yeah, we talked about this in the Peter Gabriel sessions, by the way, the white horse.
Mm.
The moving devil. The mowing devil, I'm sorry, a mowing devil. The devil makes all these signs. Mm-hmm. So now we are on page 62. Faking UFOs. Former Royal Air Force engineer MI5 paid people to fake crop circles to discredit UFO research. Interesting, huh? Coming back to serpents and dragons. Or the feathered serpent. We have also this legend here in Germany. It's called Siegfried. Sieg means victory, by example, and Fried means Frieden, so the peace and victory. Siegfried, a legendary hero of German heroic legend who killed a dragon. The name of the dragon is Fafnir. And Siegfried is later murdered. You got here the Drachenburg, which is the dragon castle, legendary castle of Siegfried, the dragon slayer. Interesting, huh? So you got these legends all over the world. Yeah, this is where it is. That's the Rhine. And this is the coat of arms. The weapon of the dragon stone, the dragon rock. Yeah, that's a red dragon. Red.
Yes.
Spitting fire.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got a shield. And what kind of a color is that shield?
It's a red shield.
And red shield in German means rotes Schild.
Right.
What could be another name for rotes Schild?
Rothschild.
Rothschild. Interesting, huh? So it's all in the same league. If somebody was the dragon slayer, then it was Michael, the archangel, and not Siegfried.
Mm-hmm.
But you see what to expect from anybody, because nobody wants to tell the truth in no church. Another disinfo agent is Joe Rogan, the Joe Rogan Experience, GRE. And he also had a talk show of were dragons real animals? And you see that I don't want to go into every nitty-gritty, but dragons are everywhere. They are just winged serpents, and they just been created here as a severe different species. I think maybe on purpose to distract him, but the Bible tells you and me and everybody out there that dragon and serpent actually is the same.
Right.
Yeah. So let's better stick to the feathered serpent or the winged serpent, and then you got everything in one subject, in one word, in one animal. So all these dragons who are just appearing in Lord of the Rings, these are just serpents with wings. It's nothing else. Yeah, but they just appear as something else, something special to distract the people from the Bible, maybe. And it is no coincidence that the Nazgul, the leader, the Witch King, is been portrayed here or displayed here as more powerful as the man with his staff riding the white horse. And if you know the Bible, you know this allegory. And you are not surprised because the author of that book, The Lord of the Rings, J.R.R. Tolkien, has been supervised by Jesuits and wrote this very phrase or this very tale of The Lord of the Rings in a Jesuit facility. So therefore, it's no use. But also in that interesting movie, Lord of the Rings, which is a total fraud because the thousands of people who are appearing there is just CGI. There are giants in it. So there are much references if you really know the Bible. The defeat of Dracos, the serpent, and they are being seen as a serpent master, so Draco is on top of the serpent, yeah, so that's not a distraction, is the motive of the dragon slayer, the Greek sky god Zeus slaying Typhoon, Babylonian Marduk slaying Tiamat, that's the name of the Babylonian so-called dragon, the Buddhist god Indra slaying Vrita, the Hittite sky god slaying Ilunkia, in Christianity, the angel Michael or Saint George, which is incorrect, slaying the dragon. So, but it is not a dragon, it is a serpent, nevertheless. Yeah. So when it comes up to all these ancient depictions here, you don't see a wing here. So I would rather stick to serpent bread. You see? Yeah, a serpent with a horn maybe, but not a flying dragon. Yeah. You see that everywhere, it just more resembles to a snake than anything else. Maybe, it's just an idea that I now get, maybe, Brett, it is more easier to explain if you think about the experiments they most probably made in Genesis 6 when the giants were there with the daughters of men, that they were having offspring. Maybe they could also change and alter anything else to create some gigantic animals, and maybe that has also an effect. I do not know. The Bible does not speak about it, and I'm not going into apocryphica. So the etymology tells you of a dragon, a fabulous animal common to the conceptions of many races and peoples. But you see that it is a huge serpent, a dragon, so that's the same. A huge serpent. A serpent, a giant sea fish, that would be very close to what is on the south coast of South America. Yeah. Used in the Bible generally for creatures of great size and fierceness, it translates the Hebrew 10 in a great sea monster, so that we are just better off if we say it is a sea snake or a snake with wings. Anything else, but it is in essence a snake.
Yep, ecumenical.
Yeah, because the Pope is just in for the flow. He goes with the flow, and he's just into.
At this picture, I think you would say he would be into syncretism.
Yes, and ecumenism, huh?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well,
so
he's wearing the headdress there.
Yeah, interesting. Huh? When he's a representative of the serpent, yeah, now you got a feathered serpent here. you see, then out of a sudden it makes sense that all these native tribes and chiefs are just using feathers on their head because they worship the feathered serpent. Pope Francis kissed little child's hands after receiving the headdress, something he has done in the past as a sign of respect for Holocaust survivors, and has done this on his trip for residential school survivors. Ay. Yeah, that's the chief, Wilton Littlechild. He has the name Chief Littlechild. So he kisses the hands of somebody else and receives a headdress. The downside of it, look at this, more than 150,000 native children in Canada were forced to attend government-founded so-called Christian schools, so Roman Catholic schools, from the 19th century until the 1970s in an effort to isolate them from the influence of their homes and culture. The aim was to, Catholicize and assimilate them into mainstream society, which previous Canadian governments considered superior. And you know that at the moment, Mr. Trudeau is officially ruling Canada and he's a Jesuit. So no wonder. Pachamama, the Dragon and the Blessed Virgin. One of the aims of the Amazonian Synod is for people of the developed West North to understand the indigenous cultures better. No, it is just to incorporate anything else to one common religion. Somebody tells me all the time that the word Vatican literally means divining serpent and is derived from vatis, diviner, and can serpent, and it's just up to your research what you think of it. Usually, Vaticanus means the mountain of prophecy. But I think we can stick for it that this Mother Earth and Indian religion is all just about pagan worship. Because Pachamama is the supreme goddess honored by the indigenous people of the Andes, including Peru, Argentina, and Bolivia. She is in fact the goddess of all that exists for all time eternal, and that is what means the Mother Earth. Pachamama is often depicted as a huge dragon, as she represents the Andean mountains. When she feels disrespected, she may cause earthquakes. Aha, so that means that if the earthquakes arise, then it's just the wrath of the goddess mother. Oh, there's much to come, I think. Other literature seems to indicate that she's often depicted as a huge dragon. She's associated with the snake or serpent. Yeah, that's what we have shown already, that the Pope is also into worshipping the feathered serpent. Yeah, the winged Mayan snake god Vulcan to the Vatican. Yeah, you see that you can come up with any name. So I think that all of the distraction serves one purpose, to get the distraction away from South America and get away from the Mary worship, and just to keep people busy with all alternative so-called truth, like Erich von Däniken, Chariot of the Gods, or in this case of the monster of Loch Ness. And so I think that the monster of Loch Ness in Scotland is just another Masonic fairy tale, Scotland, to keep maybe the focus away from South America or just away from the Roman Catholic Church. It's very interesting that there was also a kind of a spoof of the giant behemoth as a monster of the land, because behemoth is also mentioned in the Bible. Behemoth would be a huge biblical beast from Job chapter, literally a water ox, or the name for a hippopotamus, a beast of the earth. Also, beast of the earth can be found in the Holy Quran, associated with Judgment Day. For this reason, the beast of the earth is often mentioned in eschatological writings. The Quran doesn't offer details about the nature of the beast of the earth, but various interpretations have linked it to the beast of the earth mentioned in the New Testament book of Revelation, or to the monster from Turkic mythology. So I think Loch Ness is just another distraction. It also serves Mammon, of course, as a tourist attraction. Yeah, so people are just being fear-mongered, or just being fascinated by all these fairy tales. But once again, the thing that is most closely to a sea serpent would be Leviathan, a sea monster or a sea serpent. Yeah, so regarded as a form of Satan. Yeah, so if it would be the most fierceful and powerful animal, then and destructive also, not loving but destructive, it must be. Leviathan has been named as the piercing serpent. In other words, you see, even your biggest furious monster is a serpent. Yeah, and so this is your Loch Ness monster, which could be anything. they rule this picture as a hoax. I don't know, and I don't care because I don't believe in it. Got several reasons why I don't believe in it. One of the amusing facts is that Aleister Crowley, not only Satanist, occultist, and blah blah blah, but a secret agent, has bought a house there, Boleskine House, later been sold to Jimmy Page, Led Zeppelin, quite nearby the lake of Loch Ness. So, yeah, birds of a feather, huh? Or feathered birds, they stick together. Yeah, and it's a tourist attraction, so it gains money. You see, this Loch Ness, Loch means you got a connection to the sea. Yeah, so then if there would be a sea monster, it is more likely it would appear in a loch which has a connection to the sea than in a enclosed sea or lake or what else, obviously. So there are many, many, many cultures which are just worshipping serpents. In Indian Spring, there is a Mishi Pesho with horns, and what else? Yeah, underwater panther. The head of paws and a huge wild cat, that's something for you, and the antlers or horns of a deer or bison.
Something for me?
Yeah, cat.
Huge wild cat?
Huge wild cat.
No, thank you.
No, thank you. Okay.
No, thank you.
Yeah, okay.
I reject.
Christian missionaries, yeah. Every time I read.
Catholic missionaries, yes.
Yeah. Every time the same.
Yes, it is, right.
So, but the belief in monsters and evolution, all the stuff must be so immense that even the children, they get their version of Nessie or the sea monster. This is a German movie here with the puppet on strings. So you got something for the children, you got something for the adults. Yeah, it's so hilarious, funny. Yeah.
Right.
Ness means a point of land running into the sea, and Loch Ness. So Loch means Gaelic, Loch means lake. So the lake which is running into the sea, that's Loch Ness. Yeah. And the river is called Inverness, where Loch Ness has been located. This is the mouth of the river. So it would all make sense. But nonetheless, this is Aleister Crowley here. And so maybe also it could be a secret service deliberately disinfo. Interesting. Scientists 2019 have discovered a sea of fresh water under the ocean. Thousands of years ago, sure. Glaciers covered much of the planet. World Economic Forum. The Leviathan of the Book of Job is a reflection of the older Canaanite Lotan, a primeval monster, they claim, defeated by the god Baal-Hadad. And you know that is BS because there is no god Baal-Hadad. Yeah, and so we stick to the Leviathan. Yeah, this is the Antichrist on a Liber Floridus at 1120. So there's an Antichrist sitting on a beast. But what does that mean now, Brett, is that there is now, for some people, in some mindset, there is a connection of Leviathan with the beast. And so it's not only me.
Mm-hmm.
And interesting, if you look it up here, Diaboiv, that's diaboli or diabolic. Diabolic means devil. Leviathan, serpent. Leviathan, S-E-R, Leviathan, serpent maybe. Signati, sign, signal. Yeah, so we are there. Yeah, we're almost there. The Babylonian creation myth describes Marduk's defeat of the serpent goddess Tiamat, whose body was used to create the heavens and the earth. And that's the same as the dragons with the swallowed pearl in China mythology. That's always the same. It's always the same. Yeah. You see, we have been totally bombarded in this world with all the lies and deceptions. All the lies and deceptions. Now it's the Vatican, and in former times before the Roman Empire was there, was this priest and the scribes. Yeah.
Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees,
Yeah,
hypocrites.
Yeah, see. Yeah, but all creatures have been created by God in the first place, so. Yeah. Bible speaks in Genesis 1:20, it speaks of the moving creature that has life. But you see that here when you have this H8577, which is then the big whales, the great whales, 8577, the whales actually are sea serpents also.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, so it depends on your translation, what you make up of it. Judaism, they also know the Leviathan, the sea monster, with Behemoth, the land monster, and Zis, the air monster, which I cannot have any recollection of the Bible. The Zis. What's the Zis? What's this? Jewish mythology. Large enough to be able to block out the sun, which is wingspan. Aha. Mm-hmm. Great. Aha. So it has nothing to do with the Bible. The only passing mention of the Zis in the Bible found in Psalms 50:11. I know all the birds of the mountains, and Zis Zadeh is mine, and Psalms the born from. And these are often lost in translation from Hebrew, being referred to in most English translations as ambiguous beasts, or referred to as neither singular nor avian. Yeah, first Enoch. Oh, yeah, first book of Enoch. Yeah. I almost smelled it, huh?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Later Jewish sources describe Leviathan as a dragon who lives over the sources of the deep, and who, along with the male land monster Behemoth, will be served up to the righteous at the end of time. Yeah, Brett, I think that's quite fitting when you imagine that the Vatican has to play some end-time scenario, that they maybe have to recreate or just, what else, resurrect, what is it, Resurrection, Auferstehung, resurrection of these monsters.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right.
St. John sees the devil. Mm-hmm. Leviathan can also be used as an image of the devil, endangering both God's creatures by attempting to eat them and God's creation by threatening it with upheaval in the waters of chaos. The dragon being the usual translation for the Leviathan in the Septuagint. Mm-hmm. According to the cosmology of the Gnostic sect, the word is encapsulated by the Leviathan in form of a dragon-shaped archon biting in his own tail like an Ouroboros. Pope Francis hosts the feathered serpent god as a part of deity exchange program. What's the first commandment?
Thou shalt have no other gods before me.
Yeah, deity exchange program. My. So, the dragon, the serpent, the devil or Satan, or the Leviathan is a large aquatic creature of some kind, or any creature can be possessed by evil spirits. That's habit for the swines in the Gospel of Matthew, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Hebrew word for Leviathan has the root meaning of coiled or twisted. Isaiah speaks of Leviathan, the fast-moving serpent, and these are not literal translations here. Yeah, the crooked serpent. In Isaiah 27, the Leviathan is used as a symbol for the wicked kings of the earth who withstands God's people, because it has been meant most likely spiritual here, yes. So thinking about all these monsters they can come up with, that's quite interesting, because I found this alternative experience or alternative explanation of the world as it is. With the area of Antarctica, and there would be some gates, the tiger gates on the left, and that would be for another part of the earth. So, okay, that would be circular. But there are other parts like Pitatia and Centuria and what else? And you have to believe it, of course. Yeah, so that is just a strange gates here. And one gate is the Leviathan's gate. So they can come up with the hilarious explanation that there are some things outer space, or extraterrestrial means you got an extra portion of terra, of Earth. So an extra Earth. So Earth beyond the circle or what else, the walls of Antarctica. So even that concept is there. So there is much to believe in. Yeah.
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 That's right.
Amun Ra, if I remember correctly, Amun Ra is a deity in Egypt. So come on, you see that you can come up with everything. The ice wall. Yeah, you can imagine that it's just never ending. Yeah. Also very hilarious is I was, yeah, which is phonetically the same as the demon of Crowley. And oh, come on, you see. Just wanted to mention that. Yeah. So,
That's
but stick to the picture of the dragon, serpent, what else in South America, okay? So that would be the left eye. And there are...
These are the islands, right? What were they called again, these islands?
Sandwich, South Georgia and the South Sandwich Islands. Yeah,
Sandwich Islands, yeah.
Sandwich Islands, yes.
Right.
Yeah, so that is that picture. Yeah, and this is the zoom of that picture here.
Isn't that something? Like teeth of the serpent, yeah. Like the jowl of the serpent coming
up.
I
just have
out of the earth.
Circulated the globe here. You see, this is Latin America, circulated the globe, and this is just the sea serpent or the sea beast here. This is Antarctica.
Yeah.
Yeah, the dragon that is in the sea. Isaiah 27. I just stick with the Bible, you see, that is just what... I just thought about it would be great. This is a dragon here. What kind is he looking to? The dragon is looking to South Africa. And I thought, okay, that's interesting because South Africa, that's the country where Elon Musk comes from. That's just a coincidence then. And the city, the nearby city on the south coast, or the biggest city on the south coast, would be Kapstadt. Yeah, so like Cape, the city of Cape, like Cape Horn on the South America. But you see that sometimes it's just hilarious. It's so hilarious, yeah. So the path of the dragon would be towards Africa. So the dragon, once again, the dragon everywhere. Yeah, even countries like Bhutan, they have indicated or displayed the dragon. My. City of London Corporation, dragon. Games, dragon. Dragon Shadow Legends, and what else? And I thought, okay, if it is so that in South America they depict the Vulcans as being connected with dragons, then we could go to the Vulcans. Volcanoes. I'm sorry, volcanoes. Why did I come up with Vulcans? Because Vulcan is a Roman god. A god of fire. Yeah, dragons spitting fire. Volcanoes spitting fire. Metalworking and the forge. This is the Roman god of Vulcan. The abode is under the island of Vulcano. Sure. Symbol is the blacksmith's hammer. Personal information. He never existed. Parents, supposedly Jupiter and Juno. And his consort was Venus. I said, interesting. Venus. Religion in ancient Rome. Marcus Aurelius sacrificing at the temple of Jupiter. Aha. So many people think that Venus would be the wife of Mars. Because you see that these are just two symbols you see on every toilet. Male Mars, female Venus. But it's not the correct story, because the story is that the goddess Venus was married to Vulcan, the god of the night and blacksmithing, and an ugly and lame old man. Mars, handsome, young and clean built, is irresistible to her, and they make passionate love in Vulcan's marriage bed. So much for your pagan deities, huh? You see, everybody thought that they two were engaged, or? How many times you were using the public toilet where all these symbols are for everybody who cannot read or write or cannot use your native language? Yeah, they know what's what. But it is they have just had sex. They were not married. Because Venus officially was, according to mythology, was married to Vulcan. And they made love in his marriage bed. Yeah, so she is an whore. Oh, sorry that I have spoiled the joke. I would have asked you.
Right, of course.
Yeah,
of course.
She's an whore. Yeah, the whore of Babylon. It's the whore of everything. Yeah. Interesting, huh? When you look into this mythology. According to Wikipedia, Mars had consorts, but apparently didn't have a wife. One of the consorts and the mother of Romulus and Remus, Rome, was Nerio, Nerine, the goddess of war, also known as Valor. Later, Roman mythology had Mars hanging out with Venus. Yeah. So this Roman god who never existed is the name giver for Vulcanus. Or let's say Vulcanus are a site of worship for the Roman god Vulcan. Okay? Who made love with Venus. Or the whore. I think now you see, now we're getting close or closer to the entire mess. Vulcan, the god of fire. Through his identification with the Hephaestus of Greek mythology, so his forerunner Vulcan came to be considered as the manufacturer of art, arms, iron, jewelry, and armor for various gods and heroes, including the lightning bolts of Jupiter. He was the son of Jupiter and Juno, so the head god of the Romans, and the husband of Maya and Aphrodite. Now it's the husband, It was the lover of Venus, but what do I know, huh? His smithy was believed to be situated underneath Mount Etna in Sicily. And that struck me, actually. Sicily. Sure. Sicily. Right. Sicily. Remember Sicily? That was where the Abbey of Thelema has been located, of Aleister Crowley. And there's much more to it. Several sources locate Typhon's birth and dwelling place in Sicilia, and in particular the region in the vicinity of the ancient Sicilian coastal of Coriochus. So there's also a Freemason monster called Typhoon, which is located in Sicily or in Italy. Interesting. So Sicily is a part of Italy, by the way. So in the end, Venus was so struck with love with Mars that Venus and Mars were together again. Out and left behind some angry Vulcan. And when Vulcan is angry, what does he do? It's interesting because it's promoted big time here. The Vulcan salute is a hand gesture popularized by the 1960s television series Star Trek. It consists of a raised hand with the palm forward and the thumbs extended while the fingers are parted between the middle and the ring finger. It's like in some mythologies as well as a blessing. But must be coincidence then when it appears in some Jewish traditional circles then. No? I guess that must be a coincidence then that they just take this as a Roman or as a Vulcan salute. Leonard Nimoy, as being a Jew, came up with that as a sign of actually he's a Vulcanian, he comes from Vulcan, but he says that symbol as the explanation of live long and prosper. Sure, you can also explain it that if you would like to prosper in this world, you have only to worship pagan gods and Satan and Mammon. Yeah, but this blessing gesture was an inspiration for the Vulcan salute of what is it in English now? Starship Enterprise? No, what is it? Star Trek. This Spock has made a quote as being an actor in that Star Trek series or movie. He says, if this is your god, he's not very impressive. He's got many psychological problems. He's insecure. He demands worship every 7 days. He creates faulty humans and blames them for his own mistakes. He's a pretty poor excuse for a supreme being. Comes from Spock's Star Trek The Motion Picture, and the author of that quote is Gene Roddenberry, who wrote that script. The Vulcan salute was devised by Leonard Nimoy, who portrayed the half-Vulcan character Mr. Spock on the original Star Trek television series. In 1968, once again, New York Times interview described the gesture as a double-fingered version of Churchill's victory sign. Yeah, sure. Where does his victory sign comes from? He's much more older than Mr. Churchill. In his 1975 autobiography, I Am Not Spock, Leonard Nimoy, who was Jewish, wrote that he based it on the priestly blessing performed by Jewish Kohanim with both hands, thumb to thumb in the same position, representing the Hebrew letter Shin, which has 3 upward strokes similar to the position of the thumb and fingers in the gesture. And I thought, Shin? Where do I know Chin from? from Kennedy, the license plate GG300, because 300 is the value of the letter Shin. And that means fire. And that would be so fitting to a Roman god named Vulcan, right? The god of fire.
Yep.
So slowly all the things are just coming together. Slowly, but they come together. US President Barack Obama referenced the Vulcan solution in his statement on Nimoy's death, calling it the universal sign for live long and prosper. The NASA astronaut Terry W. Wirtz performs the Vulcan solution aboard the International Space Station on February 27, 2015. Shortly after hearing Nimoy's death, Nimoy's hometown of Boston has been seen directly below. My. What a bunch of actors, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Many other people too. Many more. So, happy Chinese New Year, the Year of the Dragon 2024. Since a few weeks now, there is a connection between volcanoes and dragons, of course, obviously. The Chinese believe that dragons live in the mountains and control the forces of nature, including the eruptions of volcanoes. In fact, one of the most famous Chinese dragons, Longban, is associated specifically with volcanoes and is said to reside in the mountains of northern China. And not only there. The Japanese believe that dragons live in the ocean and control the tides. They tell of dragons sacrificing themselves in order to stop volcanic eruptions and protect nearby villages. This is very noble of them. Yeah, there's a dragon god called Ryuin. That's also a repetition here. In Western cultures, dragons have often been seen as sinister and dangerous creatures, and their association with volcanoes has been interpreted as the sign of their destructive power, because both are spitting fire. In Greece, in North, everywhere. In Inca Empire, they sacrifice people in volcanoes. And they are not only volcanoes, they are also called geysers in Iceland. In Iceland, Iceland, in north of Europe. And it's interesting, but because I think I can take that as an example that the earth fundament or the soil isn't even everywhere, but you see that sometimes there are holes in it, sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's cold. I don't think about the general explanation of the earth core if I have to be asked, and nobody asks me, of course. So coming back to the Ring of Fire, the Pacific is ringed by many volcanoes and oceanic trenches. Everywhere. Even Mount St. Helens in Washington, United States. And even in other parts of the United States. This is Alaska. The Denali Mountain, also known as Mount McKinley, Mac seems to be Scottish. Its former official name is the highest mountain peak in North America, with a summit elevation of 20,310 feet above sea level. It's the tallest mountain in the world from base to peak on land, measured 18,000 feet. Denali is the third most prominent and third most isolated peak on Earth after Mount Everest and Aconcagua. So it depends what the tallest mountain actually is. It's very hard to establish, and you can't measure it on your own, I can tell you. It's located in Alaska, so it's part of the United States. And also that has been seen as a temple of the sun. Why? I guess because it's just nearer to the sun like anywhere else. So the question is, which criteria do you choose to establish what's the most important mountain or what's the most important volcano? Two others have been mentioned here. That's the Mount Everest in Asia and the Aconcagua, which is in South America. So let's have a look at Aconcagua. Aconcagua is a mountain in the Andes in Argentina. Hello, Pope Francis. The highest mountain in Americas. The highest outside Asia, so it must have been an important, prominent point, right?
Mm-hmm.
The origin of the name is uncertain. It may be from the Mapu Dungun Aconcagua, which refers to the Aconcagua River and means comes from the other side. The Quechua Aconcagua, meaning the sentinel of the stone, meaning the white sentinel. Sentinel is a soldier stationed as a guard from 1570s. And I said, okay, that's quite interesting because I know of a famous Roman Catholic military order, which has also soldiers there, because if the general is leading that army, it must be an army. It must not be a religious sect or what else. So Aconcagua, okay, so that would be quite fitting. That's in Argentina. But there are other explanations. The name Aconcagua would translate as a snow-capped mountain, and everybody comes up with a different number of the height, so it's quite complicated. But we have other explanations as well. As of 2020, the youngest person to reach the summit of Aconcagua is Tyler Armstrong of California. He was 9 years old when he reached the summit on 24th of December 2030. My, what a coincidence, huh? That he reached the summit on the 24th of December, I guess. And I have to believe it. Is Aconcagua higher than Mount Everest, which has to be seen usually as the tallest mountain? Aconcagua is both the tallest mountain in the Americas and the highest mountain in the world outside of Asia. Aconcagua is the second most topographically prominent peak in the world. Topographic means the depth of an object. What is the official explanation of topography? The study of the forms and features of land surfaces. So the second most prominent peak in the world after the Mount Everest. The mountain was created by the subduction of the Nazca Plate. You know where Erich von Däniken claimed that would be an alien aircraft UFO site. Interesting. So he is part of the Andes of the mountain range too. So it can also be a place of sacrifice then, of course. But there are others. But we were not only looking for mountains, weren't we? Weren't we looking for volcanoes? So I got a prominent one for you. The prominent one would be the Cotopaxi in the Andes Mountains. So in the Andes Mountains, there are not only mountains, but there are volcanoes too. So the Cotopaxi is an active stratovolcano. Stratovolcano means a composite volcano of certain materials. South of Quito. Remember Quito? The Virgin of Quito? How it gets... I think now you see my point. According to locals, Koto means neck and Paxi means moon. You remember? She has the moon under her feet. This refers to the crater of Cotopaxi that looks like a crescent moon. The mountain was honored as a sacred mountain by local Andean people even before the Inca invasion in the 15th century. It was worshipped as a rain sender, which served as the jurarenta, so the guarantee, of the land's fertility, and at the same time its summit was revered as a place where gods lived. Yeah, sure, you see that's the same as in Greece with the Mount Olympus, where you got Olympia from. Where the gods lived. Remembers me of Stuart Copeland, the drummer of the Police band. He says, where the gods live. You can summon the gods, because you see that the drum rhythm, the initiation rhythm. And no wonder that in the initiation song of Police called Wrapped Around Your Finger, which is about you find out that your servant is your master. When anybody was try to learn anything from Satan, he will see that Satan in the end is the master, and the man will always be betrayed. It's like in the Goethe Faust story, I guess. He is just playing the big... It is a gong in English, I guess, Brett.
Yep.
Gong.
Yep, it's a gong.
Yeah. So he's the big pasty gong. Yeah, so that's an initiation song. It's wrapped around your finger. It's quite obviously. And if you look at the video with the symbology of the candles and the man dressed in white, I don't have to explain it any further, I guess. So... Yeah, but the people do not get it, what actually initiation means, or just mountains means for the majority of people. It's not just a sight to see, or just to admire, or what else. They see it as a place where the gods live, and so therefore also the songs of these artists, like the Police, they serve a certain purpose. And usual people, they only listen for just the song and not its meaning, and they don't are biblically educated, I think. So therefore people think that, yeah, this song is great. You are sucked into this little dark hole. Yeah. But it is an initiation rhythm. It's an initiation song. Yeah, that's why they are sucked into it. But they of course, they see the world from the outside, and we are trying to, just for the few people who are just interested in it, we see the world from the inside, what's really going on. You're completely captivated. Well, captivated, yeah, completely captivated, yeah, sure. That's the goal of all these songs, from your Bee Gees and Jimi Hendrix and all this stuff. All this music serves the purpose of initiation and worship, and was been meant to serve the purpose as worship, but for the Almighty God of the Bible, and not for pagan gods, goddesses. You see, first commandment once again. It's an interesting small article here. I just only read one sentence of it. Whether we use a tabor, a timbre, or a tambourine, it is all the same thing, a spiritual weapon of war that Satan knows very well. The scripture reference in Ezekiel 28 is speaking about Satan. He was a beautiful cherub and had instrument built within him, tabrets and pipes. All these musicians, they're just servants of Satan, if they are not worshipping the Almighty God of the Bible, of course. So, but back to Cotopaxi, historic eruptions. With 87 known eruptions, Cotopaxi, nearby Quito in Ecuador, is one of the Ecuador's most active volcanoes. Its first recorded eruption was in 1534. Coincidentally, 1534 has something to do with the Jesuits. Because on the 15th of August 1534, Ignatius of Loyola, a Spaniard from the Basque of Loyola, and 6 others, they met outside Paris in a crypt and to pronounce promises, and and then they founded the Jesuits in 1534. But you see that, don't blame the volcano for that, okay? And on September 27, 1540, they were officially recognized by the papal bull Regimini Militantis Ecclesiae. Cotopaxi, the coat of arms with a big eagle on top. There is another one called Chimborazo, an inactive stratovolcano situated in the Andes. Its last known eruption is believed to have occurred around 550 AD. Despite not being the tallest mountain in the Andes or on the Earth, its summit holds the distinction of being the farthest point on Earth's surface from the Earth's center due to its location alongside the planet's equatorial bulge. May I ask a question here to you?
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe it?
The equatorial bulge?
Their explanation is that Chimborazo is the tallest mountain on the Earth. Usually in school you learn that it's Mount Everest in Himalaya. The argument is it's being the furthest point of the Earth's surface from the Earth's center due to its location along the planet's equatorial bulge.
Well, why do I have to believe it?
Prove it.
Yeah.
Prove
exactly.
it.
Prove it.
But that would mean that the highest mountain on Earth is not the highest mountain according to their explanation that you thought you knew. So they can come up with anything. That would mean that the importantest mountain actually is not a mountain, but a volcano on the earth. And this is Chimborazo in Latin America. With their explanation, because due to the equatorial bulge, which we cannot prove, and we have to believe, it is a religion, science, a religion of the elite, that this is the mountain which reigns supreme on other mountains and volcanoes along the world. So this mountain is located in South America, Chimborazo. And this is in Ecuador. You know, Cotopaxi, huh? Quito. The Virgin of Quito. So every time I look to South America, I see something that I did not know before. This is not knowledge, this is belief, of course. You have to believe it. You can't prove it with your eye, because you do not know what the surface looks underneath that volcano. And lucky for us, since almost 1500 years, it has not been spit fire, this stratovolcano. But at least it has been known as a volcano. And this is the most important mountain because it's the tallest mountain. You cannot see it, you have to believe it. But that mountain must also serve a certain purpose, because they explain to you, because of their globe model with the bulge on the equator, this to be the tallest mountain. You see, on the United Nations flag, there is no topography. You don't see any mountains, you don't see any depth. This is not three-dimensional here. This would be a three-dimensional card, but I don't believe it either. But it's just not only my approach. You see that there are certain things that I would believe that are not important. Important is that you see that once again you can't prove their claims. It's science. It's either too old or too far away, or just you cannot measure it. It's too gigantic. What else? You can't measure it. Yeah. So the question, once again, is not if the Earth had this or that shape. The question is, if you believe their model, they can come up with anything that you can prove. Thomas Dolby says, the Earth can be any shape you want. It's home and all I ever had. And interesting enough, he mentions in that song one line, it's called, I'm sensitive about my height.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and then you are with your Chimborazo, which is in Ecuador, once again at the equator. And then they claim, yeah, it's about because of the equator bulge on the globe model. Yeah, you see, that's the tallest mountain there, because it has the biggest, the largest, the tallest part under this volcano, and you have to believe it, because otherwise you will not get any good grades if that question would come up in school, I guess. So what Thomas Dolby also mentioned is, then when they spill the demon seed. It is so interesting lyrics here if you think of that from a certain perspective. So I had a remark and said, and the things you do not see but have to believe. Because Chimborazo is only 6,200 meters, or let's say in foot 20,500 something, and the Everest is 8,859 meters, so that's close to 2,500 or 7,000 something feet in difference. But you have to believe it. Your naked eye would betray you, they claim. You cannot believe your senses. You cannot trust your eyes. You have to trust science.
We're talking with
Lindsay Shanks.
Lindsay, and you're a high school student as well.
Yes, sir.
What is the world's tallest mountain?
It's not Mount Rushmore.
No. Do you ever rest?
Do I what?
Ever rest?
No.
I'm giving you the story.
Oh. I really don't know.
See, I asked you, do you ever rest? And you said
Oh,
no.
Mount Everest.
Everest, there you go.
There you go.
Because usually it's the Mount Everest in Asia, which has been seen as the tallest mountain, but only if you look it up from the surface of the Earth or at sea level. And there's also some interesting thing that usually has not been remarked. Let's look it up. It's the etymology of it. Mount Everest is the Earth's highest mountain. So what's the truth now? Above sea level. Ah, I get it. Now it's the highest mountain above sea level, but it's not the highest mountains after all, because there is Chimborazo, which blah, blah, blah. Located in the Himalayas, the China-Nepal border runs across its summit point. Its elevation is 29,000 feet, so 29,000 compared to Chimborazo, 20,000, so that was a difference. I apologize myself for being too stupid to calculate, of 9,000 feet or 8,500 feet, which was most recently established in 2020 by the Chinese and Nepali authorities, so you have to believe them, right? You can't prove it. Everest is a mountain named 1865 for Sir George Everest, but the Tibetan name of that Everest is Chomo Langma and means the mother goddess of the world. And that's the thing which you don't usually been told in the mass media. So they see the Everest as the mother goddess of the world. Aha. Interesting. Some things. In the early 1960s, the Nepali government coined the Nepali name Sagarmatha or Sagarmatha, which means the goddess of the sky, which means the head in the great blue sky, being derived from sky and head. So it gets even better. So that must be a place of worship then, because it's just the goddess of the sky, the Everest. Don't fall for the English name according to the official discoverer, our mountaineer. You have to look up the original name, original etymology, meaning. So what your naked eye is telling you is that the Everest most likely is the tallest mountain, but only from sea level, based on sea level. So it's always good to have a good foundation. If you don't have any foundation, you have to believe them that Chimborazo is the tallest mountain, because you can't see the rest because of the equatorial bulge. It is that he is the tallest one. You see that all the problems now occurring because you have to believe their global model with flat poles and a bulge at the equator. So that creates many problems that you have to believe them, you cannot prove it, and your eye, they tell you that your God-given senses will betray you. You have to believe their science.
Anyway, we'll hope to see you then in the future sessions we do on the topic of science is the new religion. And bye-bye.